On this edition of the program, ooh, it's a good one. The Sham Wow guy is running for Congress, and he's got a hell of an ad for you. We go back to the 90s to discuss the Clinton philosophy as they are now pushing for a totally live and direct deposition for the House Oversight Committee. And Kirk Bado joins us to talk about whether or not this is absolute vibes bankruptcy for DC. It's all coming up.
The following is brought to you by Just Another Pilot.
Hello and welcome everybody to the Politics program for February 6th, 2026. Your old pal Justin Robert Young joining you on Super Bowl Friday. I like Seattle laying the points. I like Drake Mays rushing over. And I like the under. Anyway, we got a hell of a show here for you. Kirk Bado is going to be on talking about vibes bankruptcy in DC. We're going to talk a little bit of politics, a little bit of just whether or not DC has ever been more depressed than it is currently. We're going to go back in time. We got 90s clips. You guys, you know I love to talk. Few things bring me childlike glee the way that I like talking about Clinton scandals in the 90s. I love Clinton scandals. I don't know if anybody has been as compelling of a scandalized figure than Bill Clinton in my lifetime. It always makes me smile to go back to those moments in history. And the Clintons are having a sex deposition. What? Oh, yeah. They want to do it in public. There's some chatter around it. We discussed it a little bit on the Substack exclusive episode, but I wanted to bring it up in front of the curtain and show you guys what my point of view is on Clintonian philosophy. We also have weak jobs numbers, some interesting polling in Maine, and I'll tell you what, the Republican Senatorial Committee is 10 toes down on John Cornyn, and John Cornyn is not he ain't gonna blink. He wants to keep that seat. Buckle up. I don't think I'll be able to turn on a streaming service without seeing a John Cornyn political ad. Before we go any further, speaking of Texas, this is an ad for the Republican primary in District Texas 31. You might remember this man. Let's just play the clip.
Hey, it's Vince. I'm running for Congress against this guy. Stop having a politician that's worse than Biden.
That's discretionary funding.
Instead, vote for me, a guy who's not half dead. I'm gonna soak up the swamp, clean the house, and pick up those liberal tears at the same time. I'm gonna slap chop the nuts out of the woke, making less blue-haired commies and more red-blooded Americans. Vote for me so I can represent you and the ones that can't stand up for themselves.
Vote for ShamWow!
Paid for by Offer Vince ShamWow Shlomi for Congress.
Yes, that is, as he is nomenclatured, ShamWow Shlomi, the ShamWow guy. You know, it might be hard to describe it to the youth these days, but back in a bygone era, you didn't have your opportunity to watch whatever you wanted on any device you want, whenever you want, with a nod to Tom and Brian with that description. You had to actually just watch live television. And on live television, there would be ads that would come on all the time. Two of the most iconic were Billy Mays as a pitchman. These were kind of gadgets. And Mr. Shlomi, who advertised very famously both the Slap Chop and the ShamWow. Well, he has gotten very political as he has gotten older, and he is now running in a Republican primary in Texas 31. That's right in my area. It encompasses Round Rock, Georgetown, and just a little bit of Travis County, which is where I live in Austin, Texas, I'm here to tell you, we're going to try and get ShamWow Shlomi on the show. I got to talk to him. I got to know. That's a good ad. For the record, that's a good ad. You're going to be irreverent, but he makes his killer point first, which is he's young, this other guy is old, older than Biden. Is he going to win? I doubt it, but, well, I don't know. Maybe he should come on. We'll have a good conversation. All that, but first, Hillary Clinton on X Thursday writes, for 6 months, we engaged Republicans on the Oversight Committee in good faith. We told them what we know under oath. They ignored all of it. They moved the goalpost and turned accountability into an exercise in distraction. So let's stop the games. If you want this fight, Representative James Comer, added the man, let's have it in public. You love to talk about transparency. There's nothing more transparent than a public hearing. Cameras on. We will be there. That is Hillary Clinton challenging Representative James Comer, the head of the House Oversight Committee, saying, okay, all right. You want us to talk about Epstein? We'll talk about Epstein, but we're not going to do it in a private deposition where you can leak whatever details you want to leak, and then we have to play catch up. We understand how this game works. That's why we've tried to not do this for 6 months. What I was told is that they offered James Comer the ability to come talk to them for a pre-described period of time in New York, no recording. Obviously, that was not going to work. And so now the Clintons are doing what the Clintons do best. Say whatever you want to about Bill and Hill. They are very legally oriented people. They are going to do what maximizes advantage, minimizes exposure. Always. That's how they've always done it. I believe that's how they will forever always do it. They want to talk about what they want to talk about, and that's it. They are message control on message control on message control. So we will see whether or not a great moment in C-SPAN history, Bill and Hillary Clinton coming down to the Hill, sitting down with the House Oversight Committee, taking incoming fire from the Republicans, and the Democrats are going to be something to watch. Because it was the Democrats that pushed the Epstein stuff this time. It was the Democrats that advanced on that committee, that advanced the Clintons for contempt, criminal contempt, because they refused to come testify. Now, in a bygone era, you would think that the Democrats would circle the wagons for the Clintons. I would still say that's most likely to happen. But it's not as assured as it was certainly in the 90s. It's not as assured as it was during the Benghazi era. What I wanted to address here in this segment is the idea that the Clintons would go on the attack to Donald Trump. Because here is the behind the scenes on this Clinton deposition. Republicans are concerned that dragging the Clintons in front of the cameras are going to open up the precedent that Donald Trump is going to get hauled before Congress the next time that they, the Democrats, are in the catbird seat, when they control both the DOJ and the House of Representatives. Then you will have an opportunity to say, all right, well, either you show up or we're going to arrest you. We're going to put you in jail. Yeah, that's what happened to Steve Bannon. That's what happened to Peter Navarro. Now the Clintons, who were going to have They were going to force a vote with the Democrats, where the Democrats, from everything I heard, they were going to vote to hold the Clintons in criminal contempt. So now the Clintons are going to come forward. Okay. What some are suggesting is that, oh, you screwed up. You screwed up not only because Trump's going to get called in, but the Clintons now have a live mic. You've handed a live mic to the Clintons. How do you know that they're not going to lean in and say, I saw Donald Trump with an underage girl? It'd be politically explosive. It'd be something that would send the world talking. Donald Trump has been particularly nice to the Clintons lately. He has said he always liked Bill. He was asked yesterday why he liked Bill Clinton, and he said, he always got me. I just liked him. I've always liked him. I've always liked Hillary too. Very nice, very conciliatory. Is he trying to soften the blow? Maybe. But I find that to be unlikely. And here's why. Again, this is my wheelhouse. This is the political chrysalis for which I was born into this media world. I joined the discourse, walking, stumbling like a newborn baby fawn from the void that was created by the Lewinsky scandal. That was what turned me on to politics. We had the 2000 election right after that in my backyard in South Florida, and boy, was I off to the races. Nothing on earth is more fascinating than the grand experiment of politics. And the way that we talk about it and what we find fascinating says everything that you need to know about our society. So let's talk about the Clintons as players in scandal. And if you want to understand the Clintons and players in scandal, you have to understand the idea that they were in scandal as they emerged into the national stage, coming from Arkansas. Bimbo eruptions are what they euphemistically referred to Bill Clinton's insatiable ability to have women on his willy. There were scandals in Arkansas when he was governor about state troopers ferrying women back and forth from the governor's mansion. And obviously, you had a few that came forward. It was in that moment that the Clintons, in a national interview, as Bill was in the primary for president of the United States, as a real underdog, said that Bill's actions had brought pain to their marriage. Now, I want you to note that in two factors. Number one, how limited, legally limited, that is, as even an acknowledgement that Bill Clinton did anything wrong. They didn't say that he was an adulterer. They didn't say that he had an affair. They didn't say that he was manipulative to the women. They didn't say, some of the accusations that come out of here are that, Juanita Broderick says that she was raped by Bill Clinton. Nothing along those lines, right? It is unique to just Bill and Hillary. He caused pain in the marriage within the two of them, has nothing to do with anyone else, can be resolved internally. Whew. Smooth, like a perfect little sphere. They're good, the Clintons. And it is my belief that they regretted saying that for the rest of their lives. Why? Because it was any kind of admittance that this thing happens. And they should never, ever, ever, ever admit it, ever. How do I know that they regretted it? Well, we had another larger scandal exactly like this that happened in 1999, the Monica Lewinsky scandal. What happened when that broke loose? Of course, everybody looks to Hillary. Hillary very famously back in the Arkansas days said she's not some kind of Tammy Wynette stand by your man lady. There's a great episode of Cocaine and Rhinestones, the country music history podcast, that talks about exactly how politically charged that statement was in the world of country music. But what happens now? Hillary Clinton goes on television with Matt Lauer in 1999 and says the following.
The great story here, for anybody willing to find it and write about it and explain it, is this vast right-wing conspiracy that has been conspiring against my husband since the day he announced for president.
This has nothing to do with Bill. This has nothing to do with some intern. This has nothing to do with sex. This has to do with a vast right-wing conspiracy. This is an incredibly important watershed moment in political history because it is an idea that continues to propagate, I would say, right up until the Trump era, but all the way through the Obama era. The idea that Republicans are very, very good at keeping together, creating a message and drilling it into the opposition, and that they have levers of power that Democrats do not have that will continue to punish the poor put upon Democratic Party, the one that is looking out for the working class, because this vast right-wing conspiracy is only ginning up these tales of Bill Clinton, the philanderer, and the person who is making a mess on a dress. All that stuff is just totally exaggerated ridiculousness, because the powers that be want to screw the working man, and Bill Clinton is working every single tireless day for you, the blue collar ham and egger. Notice what that has no mention of. Guilt. Any kind of admission. She's not here to say, well, I'm sorry, or I feel bad for myself, or, oh, it's been kind of tough. Nope. Attack. In fact, Hillary is asked about the pain in the marriage comment in that same interview.
If he were to be asked today, Mrs. Clinton, do you think he would admit that he again has caused pain in this marriage?
No, absolutely not. And he shouldn't.
Now, Hillary, for all of her gifts, is not the communicator that Bill Clinton is. Bill Clinton is one of the most impressive political animals of all time. He's really good. He understands what the median point of view is. He connects to it almost immediately. And then, while acknowledging the opposition, will pivot it to arguing his case. You can look at Bill Clinton talk in the way that you can look at like the throwing mechanics of Tom Brady, to use a Super Bowl football metaphor. It's just crisp. It just is the platonic ideal. He makes it look easy in a way that people work their entire lives for. Don't believe me? Here's Bill Clinton several years later. This is during the Obama administration, being asked a nearly identical question about the vast right-wing conspiracy.
Sure it is. It's not as strong as it was because America's changed demographically, but it's as virulent as it was. I mean, they're saying things about him. It's like when they accused me of murder and all that stuff they did. But it's not really good for the Republicans of the country what's going on now. I mean, they may be hurting President Obama. They can take his numbers down. They can run his opposition up. But fundamentally, he and his team have a positive agenda for America. Their agenda seems to be wanting him to fail. And that's not a prescription for a good America. We actually need a credible debate about what's the right balance between continuing to expand the economy through stimulus and beginning to move back to fiscal balance. We need a credible debate about what's the best way to get to universal coverage. Now, the one Republican who's come up with a good idea is Senator Snowe. She deserves a lot of credit for saying, when we did this Medicare prescription drug bill, instead of giving the government the power to negotiate for lower prices, we gave the drug companies a chance to offer them, but we held the power in reserve, and if there was any state in America where there was no competition, you could do it. So let's do that for health care. That's a good idea. That's the kind of debate the country needs, and I hope that the Republicans will come forward with it.
But do you worry about a repeat of '94 politically?
There's no way they can make it that bad for several reasons. Number one, the country is more diverse and more interested in positive action. Number two, they've seen this movie before because they had 8 years under President Bush when the Republicans finally had the whole government, and they know the results were bad. And number three, the Democrats haven't taken on the gun lobby like I did, and they took 15 of our members out. So I don't think it'll be, whatever happens, it'll be manageable for the president.
So what do we have in front of us? A question of Bill Clinton's relationship to Jeffrey Epstein. And let's do a quick tour around the grounds here. Jeffrey Epstein becomes a public figure because as Bill Clinton is coming out of his presidency and he's setting up the Clinton Initiative, he's being flown around on a private jet with a heretofore unknown billionaire. A billionaire by the name of Jeffrey Epstein. And so the question becomes in the public, wait a minute, who the hell is this guy? This guy wasn't around in 92. This guy wasn't around in 96. Who is Jeffrey Epstein? That's the first time that the public knew about him. It's the first time that Jeffrey Epstein became somebody on the radar. And that's where you see Epstein around with the Kevin Spaceys and the academics that were a part of that Democratic power structure of the late 90s and early 2000s. He had plugged in directly with them. The Clintons know Epstein, and Epstein knows the Clintons. Obviously, we've seen pictures of Bill Clinton around Jeffrey Epstein, around Ghislaine Maxwell. You know, there's some salacious emails about Ghislaine Maxwell flirting with an email address that has been tied to Bill Clinton, as Axios very litigiously listed, knowing that they could well be sued for libel. But they're going to be asked about all of that. They're going to be asked about Virginia Giuffre. They're going to be asked about other survivors. They're going to be asked about what they saw. And for anybody who believes that they could take this opportunity to say that, well, I saw Donald Trump touch a girl I thought was underage, you are assuming that that would mean that Bill Clinton would ever admit that he was anywhere close to anything like that. And if you believe that, I would say that it would stand in stark contrast than every other way that they have handled the scandal. Deny, deny, deny. If they regret even saying that any of the Arkansas bimbo eruptions caused pain in their marriage, you think they would come close to saying that Bill Clinton saw a crime occur and didn't say something? Didn't tip off the Obama DOJ? Just, waited until right now to say it into a microphone? I think you're kidding yourself. What we're going to get when they are in front of cameras live on C-SPAN is vast right-wing conspiracy 2.0. This is all a distraction because Donald Trump has a miserable economic record. Tariffs have wrecked the country. Putin still is running free and killing Ukrainians. And this is a failure of a presidency, the likes of which we have not seen in generations. That's what this is going to be about. I guarantee it. This is your update, brought to you by TakePoliticsSeriously.com. That's where you need to go if you would like to support the program. Job openings plunged in December to their lowest level since mid-2020, signaling a weakening labor market despite strong overall economic growth under Donald Trump. New Labor Department data shows hiring has cooled sharply. Layoffs have risen, and workers are increasingly reluctant to quit, suggesting confidence in finding new jobs is fading. Firms announced more than 108,000 job cuts last month, while private payroll growth slowed to just 22,000 jobs. Economists warn that companies are producing more with fewer workers, aided partially by AI, which could leave employees behind. Polls show voter pessimism on jobs and wages, posing political risk for Trump as affordability concerns persist. So that's bad news. The GDP continues to go up, but jobs. Now, I will say personally, over the last few weeks, I have noticed more hiring in the tech sector than I have really the last couple years. I've seen the first few flickers of the emerging thawing of tech winter, which really happened as soon as the interest rates went up and the VC money got weird. But like the AI stuff, is creating more optimism, at least for tech startups. And if there's optimism, then there's money. And if there's money, then there's hiring. And if there's hiring, then there's jobs. Now, I don't know where that is anywhere else. And a lot of people have made a lot of comments about like, hey, this is the tariffs finally coming home to roost. Yes, AI is a part of it, but this is just more about the fact that if you can't make as much money on the top end, then you're going to hire less people at the bottom end because you just don't have money to pay them. I will, on a sub note, say I guess people trust the jobs reports again. Remember that conversation about whether or not we'd ever be able to trust the jobs reports? I guess we're able to trust the job report. Bad news for Trump. Also been some very volatile days on the stock market, even though a lot of the reports coming in from some of the big tech companies like Google and Amazon have been good. Big, sharp stock sell-offs because people are starting to get a little wonky about the AI infrastructure build-out. Now, y'all know me. I am an AI optimist. I believe that this is going to create more jobs than it will lose. So I think that this is probably a good time to buy. Not financial advice, but you know, I think that I'm an ever-growing optimist on this stuff when it comes to the AI. But we will have to see how everything plays politically. Okay. We have a Fabrizio poll out in Maine. And some of the numbers here are very interesting. Okay. This is under a part of the poll taken from January 20th to the 24th in Maine, where messaging pushes Susan Collins into the lead and improves her vote consideration. Quote, after hearing positive messaging about Senator Collins and negative messaging about both Governor Mills and Graham Plattner, Collins took a significant lead against both. Post-messaging, Collins leads Janet Mills by 6 points, 48 to 42, and she was up on Plattner by an average of 13 points, 51 to 38. The message being that Susan Collins is a winner in Maine as long as she runs positive ads about herself and carpet bombs the absolute dog turds out of her opponents. Graham Plattner is going to be a pretty easy person to go negative on. He's going to have to go positive to show that he is a breath of fresh air. He is a change. I would trust Fabrizio's polling in general. It's been among the gold standard over the last really 8 years. He's been a pretty reliable post-MAGA revolution pollster. But it's the first time that I've seen like out and out, like, whoa, like Susan Collins is doing really well here. Never know. But I thought it was something I wanted to put on your radar. Finally, talking about embattled senators, Senator John Cornyn and allied groups plan to spend about $10 million on a last-minute advertising blitz ahead of Texas's March 3rd Republican Senate primary. The push is aimed at forcing a runoff by consolidating opposition against Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton and Representative Wesley Hunt. Roughly $65 million has already been spent on GOP TV ads statewide, underscoring party anxiety over the race. GOP strategists believe Cornyn would easily win a general election, but fear Paxton could cost Republicans far more to defend the seat. Cornyn enters the stretch with a large cash advantage and a supportive super PAC backing. All the polling shows that Cornyn beats Tallarico or Crockett. Paxton beats Crockett, but it's a squeaker against Tallarico. Wesley Hunt probably beats both too, but that would need him to get into a runoff with Ken Paxton or John Cornyn and then win. The real problem for the Republicans is Paxton. The problem for Republicans nationwide is that Paxton is the most popular Republican of this race, at least according to polling. They are doing their damnedest to try to knock him down. And yet Ken Paxton has barely spent a dime. And no matter how much that man gets divorced, no matter how much that man has been caught in scandals, he is a true red-blooded Republican in the eyes of the primary voters of this, the great state of Texas. I've thought for a while that this was kind of the end of the road for Cornyn one way or another. It looks like he is going to try to die with his boots on, so to speak. And I mean, for my money, Ken Paxton is going to oblige him of that wish. And that is your update. TakePoliticsSeriously.com, where you need to go if you want to support this program. Head on over there right now. 2 bonus episodes each and every week. Let's go ahead and get on over to Kirk Bado. There is a gigantic earthquake, obviously, with the Washington Post. There's a lot of hand-wringing about the state of journalism, and I'm sure because there's 2 journalists on the line, we'll wind up talking about that. But one of the topics that I've been fascinated by, as somebody who has a tangential relationship with the town, is the vibes of Washington, D.C. And after there was such a bloodletting at the Washington Post, I had to check in with one of our friends who is a D.C. resident to see whether or not we have finally bottomed out. He's not a Maryland guy. He's not a Virginia guy. He's in the district, and he is our vibe sommelier, Mr. Kirk Bado. Welcome back to the show.
Justin, I wish I had a better vibe selection to curate for you here, but I'm calling to you live from inside the Watergate building. That's how deep I am into this, to give you an update on the vibe session our nation's capital is experiencing. I can see the Trump Kennedy Center from this office,
which also is going to get shut down. There were rumors about that it might get gutted and torn down and then rebuilt. So let's start here. How long have you lived in D.C.?
I've lived here 7 years.
7 years. Is there any time in the last 7 years where you think it has been glummer than it is right now?
Yes. I was actually having this conversation yesterday, and the closest comp is probably January 2021 after the insurrection.
Okay.
And as I was talking to this, one of my friends about this, I said that's probably the worst vibes ever here, that it was January 2021, even with the ghost inauguration of Biden here. The specter of January 6th and the pandemic was just very, very heavy. That they said that was kind of like a bomb going off and us dealing with the fallout from it. This last year in this town has been more like a slow carbon monoxide poisoning, where we're finally asleep. That between the Washington Post bloodletting, where over 300 people lost their job, the potential gutting of the Kennedy Center, and the ineptitude of the city government to clear off the snow and the ice that shut down this town for like 2.5 weeks here and still going on, it's pretty bleak here right now. And coupled on the fact that it was bookended by all the federal layoffs last year, that the slow boiling vibe session had been indicated for a while. It's just been real tough right now.
Well, I mean, there's two major industries in DC, government and media. Right. And both of them are shedding jobs, either of which are, the arrow is not pointed in the right direction if you are for robust government. It is certainly not there if you want robust media. Both of them are slimming down for various different reasons. And you can yell and scream about whether or not it's good or right or bad, but like this is happening. And what I don't know is this. So 2021, if we can go back to there for a second, that's a kick in the pants. I'm going to take a guess. You tell me whether or not I'm right. Because January 6th is just kind of this moment of what are we even doing here? You know, you have a lot of people in DC that very much believe in covering the Capitol, and they very much believe in serving in the government. And yes, it at times can be a job that offers perks, but there is an element of true belief for folks who are in that town. And January 6th was just kind of an affront to that it's like, are we just doing this for nothing? Is all of this going to fall apart one day? Would that be accurate?
That was definitely part of it, but it's also just a landmark in the town. Like I've lived in the same 6-block area or so since I moved up here, up in Capitol Hill.
Yeah.
The grounds of the Capitol aren't just where pages go run out Supreme Court decisions, or it's where you try to get a lawmaker as they're leaving the exit to their car. On the weekends, it's a public park. There are people there with their families. There are people playing ultimate frisbee out there. There's people having picnics. I run by the Capitol every day. I go out for a run. Like, it's part of the community there. It's like if you're in Nashville and the Parthenon got raided, or even like the Ryman downtown got raided. That's kind of what it was. And it also came at the tail end of a year of the pandemic where DC was on pretty heavy lockdown throughout most of 2020. Except for the protests in the wake of George Floyd. You got to remember, too, that was also the summer where Trump sent the tear gas out in Lafayette Park. And that was really dark. You had the military in town, the helicopters buzzing protesters as well a few months before. So then January 6th hits, and that's kind of like the nadir there. That was the low point, and probably the lowest point up until now, because like you said, it's a company town, and the company's government and journalism. And I've lived in places outside of DC. It's not like I came here for college and stayed. It really is a company town that's friendly to journalists. And any town I've lived in, any place I've ever worked in, and to see our friends at the Post and this pillar of the community get gutted is really just retching.
So here's what I don't know, and I would like your opinion on, because there's no doubt that this has driven the mood of DC residents downward, and there are people that are listening to this right now that are either incredibly sympathetic or downright giddy that is the case. But is this like the London fire, where a burning down of an old version of a place allows the creation of something different or new? That there was, like it or not, things come and go. There's a reset button that has to be hit, and that hopefully this is the low, and then there is going to be an acceleration on something that's more sustainable. Because one way or another, you've seen too many people circle around the idea the government headcount needs to be shaved for it to eventually actually happen. You've seen the bottom line of the Washington Post for long enough that it doesn't matter who is running it. Eventually, it was such a cash incinerator, something was going to happen, whether or not we agree with this being the thing that did. Is this a baseline? Is there any glimmer of hope, or am I just inventing something here?
I think I like the question a lot. I think you and I can both acknowledge, and everyone can acknowledge, that the Washington Post was losing money and was not a good business. They didn't even get my hang up right now is that they didn't get a chance to fix it. There was no vision communicated by this new leadership to try to fix it. And so it's not like they gave it the old college try here and then this happened, which would be more fair to those people. What I'm worried about here is that they're not even stripping it to the nuts and bolts here. They're ripping out the foundation too. In order to build something new, you need at least some base level here, with the sports department gone, with books gone, with international desk cut pretty heavily, with some of the really good political reporters as well getting the ads, like Patrick Svitek, who covers Texas like nobody's business and probably the best national reporter on Texas anywhere in the country. As you know, down there, Texas is going to be hugely important to the midterms here.
It's important right now. Got two big primaries.
Exactly. I'm worried that whatever comes next here will not have anything to build on, because it seems like the plan right now is to emulate Politico and try to muscle in on their turf or Axios's turf, when this was an institution that had good foundation that's just been ripped to shit right now. I don't know what could be built up from that. I'm trying not to be too alarmist here, because this paper especially has had its ebbs and flows of business. It's had has been in what looked like a death spiral before, but it just seems like this is an extinction level event that's difficult to come back from. Chuck Todd had a really smart tweet, at least in my mind, yesterday, where it might still be operating, but it will be much, much more diminished. Think of like something like Life magazine, he said, where it was the most important thing in the world until it wasn't. Or think about how Newsweek used to be one of the best read publications in the world, and now it's still around, but it's certainly lost its prominence. And he sees that as kind of the short-term trajectory, at least for the Washington Post, and I find it hard to disagree.
Newsweek used to be the epitome of smart brevity, along with USA Today, and these days now, it doesn't even exist. Yeah, it's even smarter, more brevitus on Axios.
Well, I got thoughts on the Axios pissing match that happened this morning too.
Oh yeah, do you want to get it? Let's go ahead and get all the way into journalism stuff. So is it Jim Vandehei, right? The publisher of Axios, Vandehei, former Politico. And so he was going back and forth about like how he was challenged by Jake Sherman from Punch Bowl to say, all right, if you're so smart, what would you do with the Post? And then he laid out this whole big thing about who he would hire, who he would fire, what he would build up.
It was like the Avengers Doomsday roster of It was like we have Captain America here. We got Peter Baker over here. We're going to get Sally Jennings.
Sally Jenkins back, yeah.
It was like a pie in the sky, like unlimited money, unlimited resources idea.
Which, look, if you are, does that happen if you sit down across from Jeff Bezos and, maybe he's a couple drinks in St. Bart's and you lay out the best pitch of your life? You do your Don Draper carousel pitch and he starts crying and he's like, oh my God, of course, amazing. Like, I'm sorry, new wife, you're not going to be able to go to space with your girls trip this year. We're going to put it all in to the Post and we're going to totally save journalism in DC. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, there are a few people on this planet that could enact a plan like that. Let me just go ahead and agree with you on the politics side for the Post. I think the Post should own politics, for the record. I think that there's no reason why the Post shouldn't own politics. I think that there's an argument to say that part of the reason why the Post is where it is like this is a financial consequence of you whiffing on the Biden story. You went along with the Biden comms team. You didn't report things that you knew. And then when you were asking for trust again, people didn't want to give it to you. That's that. Now, did the New York Times do the exact same thing? Yes. But why is the New York Times not in this situation? Because we don't really rely on the New York Times for politics in the same way that we rely on the Washington Post. The Washington Post brand is politics in a way that few other national, super important brands are. That being said, politics is in a very commoditized place right now. Not only do you have yahoos like me that are doing it out of my spare room, and so I have I have an incredibly low overhead. But you got institutions that have always been quick and scrappy, like where you are at National Journal. And right now, the top of the pops for politics, in my opinion, is Punchbowl. What is Punchbowl? 3 people who left a newsletter that, based on either times I have seen them in person, their social media, and their general demeanor, I don't believe that they are getting out a lot. They are 3 people that are dedicating their entire lives to this instance of covering Congress and the White House.
Yes.
And you can't outspend that, and you can't out-hustle that. Right. That's just something that, like, either you give them a Godfather offer to buy this thing, but why would they give it up? Because they're making the lion's share of the money right now, unless you're giving them the Washington Post. But even then, why would they take over a thing when they can own their own thing? And you can't, unless you're finding people that have that levels of connections that are willing to work those long hours, good luck. But you were looking for that before. Like, this is a hard market to crack. Doesn't mean that you couldn't do it, but it means that you have to bet right on young talent. You got to get that right now. And I don't know. It's difficult. I think that it would take really kind of inspired leadership. And I don't know if they got that right now. And if this is a sinking ship, then, we might be under the waves by the time that you figure it out.
Well, I think you make a great point, especially about, do they sell, like for the Punchbowl guys? Do they sell? That was part of Van de Heye's master plan for the Post, was to buy Punchbowl and just turn those guys, take their operation, get those people in the building and have them do it at the Washington Post. So there's at least a recognition of that value, what you're saying. I don't know if it was necessarily, I think it was part of it that missing the Biden story put them in this position here. They weren't doing the same level of harder hitting reporting and getting those scoops from the Biden world that they got fat on in Trump 1.0. I think the real betrayal with the readership, I think, and a lot of people have pointed to this, is when Bezos made a real political calculation to axe the Kamala Harris endorsement from the opinion page. Yeah. That was a manifestation of a changing in philosophy, at least in the ownership group, where because they didn't diversify their readership from the thousands upon thousands of resistance folks who came in during Trump 1.0 for that type of hard-hitting spotlight Marty Baron style reporting, they didn't take that audience capture and branch them out with Washington Post cooking or Washington Post games or Washington Post the style section, which is really important. Because they didn't do that, when Bezos had that change of heart about the endorsements, it turned them off. And
it was a betrayal.
Where that led to, I think what the estimate was 350,000 subscribers canceled in the aftermath of that in the next few days or so.
And meanwhile, you have your own employees that are cheering it on, which is the other crazy thing. It's like, look, I know people that have been fired from the Post over the last 48 hours. I have no zeal to see anybody lose their job.
Right.
But that was a sick animal. The Washington Post was a house divided, and it was not just money losing. It was a cash incinerator. And so, like, eventually that's going to end. And it doesn't matter how much, girl math Bernie Sanders does about the things that Jeff Bezos owns and how easy it would be for him to keep burning his cash on the Washington Post. Eventually the bill's going to come due.
No, I'm not disagreeing with that at all. And I mean, you think about how much bloodletting they've had since Trump left office the first time. Yeah, I think about all the time about the hundreds, if not thousands of folks on the editorial side who have had a job at the Washington Post that no longer exists anymore. I think the sticker shock of this one, having over 300 people lose their jobs in one day, it really reminds me of when the Messenger folded. How long ago was that? 2 years ago?
Oh my God, yeah. Only real heads remember. Had a great staff. Amy Parnes.
Incredible staff.
Amy Parnes was there. Mark Caputo was there. Tom
LoBianco was there.
Tom LoBianco, of course, yeah.
And then it just went poof in less than a year, and 300 people woke up one day and found all their jobs were gone. That is different because that was kind of a fly-by-night operation, and we all kind of knew that midnight was going to hit and Cinderella was going to turn into a pumpkin.
Yeah.
It's different to see this place, this institution, take such a hard hit. Because I don't know about you, but it used to be like aspirational for people to try to work at the Washington Post, to get there and be like, you made it. And the fact that I think why it's hitting especially the journalist community a lot is not just the empathy we obviously have for the people who lost their jobs, but the fact that we kind of know, given all these layoffs, given the state of the industry right now, that those are just gone, that those opportunities are now
out the window,
not coming back at all. And it just a very stark example of our field continuing to shrink, at least in terms of institutions. Now, I wonder your thoughts here, because you are independent, because you have been striking out on your own and been very successful with it. When you were thinking about the next steps for like a Chelsea James, who covered the Nationals, had a pretty big profile at the Post. She got laid off there.
Yeah.
Would she be like the perfect candidate to start doing Substat stuff?
Yes.
What about like maybe guy on the sports desk who's just getting rolling here, thought the Post was his way in. He's out of a job right now. I don't think he would have the same amount of success.
Find the niche. Find the niche and build. Look, none of this is about cashing in what you had. Everything is about casting a net and going forward. And let me just unsolicited advice to any and everybody at the Post, including people that I know follow me on social media. I'll post this on social media. Set up your profile today. Today, if not yesterday. Doesn't matter if you're actually going to do it, because I'll tell you one thing that will fade: public sympathy. You have public sympathy right now. So if you're that person who used to write for the Nationals, guess what? Talk to your contact at the Nationals. They know who you are. Say, look, I'm going to keep coming. I'm going to keep writing gamers. I'm going to keep asking questions in the locker room. My coverage will continue. I'm going to build up my base. You have a relationship with them today. You have public sympathy with them today, and you have the eyes and the heat on you today. Will that happen tomorrow? If you take a 3-month break, if you're crying into your matcha for a little bit of time, no, you won't. Because guess what? This is the internet. Somebody will outwork you in that time, and they will do so from a cold start, which you will have squandered, because right now people feel for you. They want to support you.
You have the attention.
They miss you right now. Make sure that they don't have to miss you. So if you in any way want to just keep doing exactly what you're doing, start that profile right now. That's why the biggest winner or loser, depending on how much she wants to check her phone, is Catherine Valentine, the head of politics at Substack, because she is DC based. And I got to imagine that her inbox is chock full of people that want to go forward. But it doesn't matter if you're politics. If you are sports, if you're anything else, go set up. It doesn't have to be Substack. It can be anywhere you want. Mm-hmm. But do it now, and do it in a way where you can collect emails, because emails are a thing that you can take from to any platform that you go, ones that are in existence now or going forward. Your email list is the only thing that matters to you today. Build it as large as you can while you are in the news. Other than that, look, if this was the natural time that you had to, get into something else or take that job in PR or do whatever else you wanted to do, travel the world, then do it. Via con Dios. This is only to the people who want to do exactly what they were getting paid for the rest of their lives. Just go. Do exactly what you did today. Substack is just another CMS. It's the exact same thing that you were doing before, except you don't have an editor, which is its own problem. But you'd be shocked at how good ChatGPT could be as a line editor. You'd be shocked.
I'm an editor. Don't say that aloud, okay? My sister already says I'm ChatGPT or Grammarly, okay? I don't need that from you here either. Well, that's great advice. That
all right.
No, but you have you're right. If you are without a job right now, you have a moment right now where everybody's sympathies are with you. You have everybody's attention. Make a profile right now.
The first time that I ever set up an independent profile was because we were leaving a network. We didn't want to leave it acrimoniously, but it wound up becoming acrimonious. We had never seen more money fly into our thing because people were angry at the network. They wanted to show sympathy for us, so they subscribed with their dollars. This is what you need to do. You would be shocked at how quickly you can build something that pays your bills. Now, how do you go beyond that? How do you go to a higher level? I'll let you know when I get there. I do okay. I'm not doing punch bowl money here, but I'm doing all right. But you can get to pay your bills pretty faster than you would think if you've got the work ethic and if you've got the audience. So that Nats reporter, look, if you're a Nats person, of course you're going to subscribe there. And guess what? There's going to be easier and better ways to get her contact in the world of independent media than there was at the Post that had to have all of their content delivery in a one-size-fits-all package.
I mean, the Post sports department didn't even have a newsletter here. So let's figure that out. But it does seem like you're right. This is great advice for anyone here. I'm also just lamenting, and maybe this is me, going back to the Don Draper carousel, being a little bit too nostalgic. Yeah. I wish we lived in a world where if you wanted to go independent, if you had to go independent for whatever reason, you have that option. That's great. I wish that there were also these institutions that still were able to support themselves. And maybe the Washington Post will get up to that point one day. But right now, it just seems like its best days are firmly behind them.
Yeah. I almost wonder whether or not it's just destined to be like a clothing brand. It's like the way that like kids know Nirvana as like a t-shirt. Yeah. It's like, are we just going to be, is the Washington Post just going to be a tote bag company in 10 years just because that's like a cool fashion forward way to carry your books?
Whatever Sports Illustrated is now, where it's just a brand.
Yeah. It's just, yeah.
Maybe. It's sad. And we're thankfully in an environment where, for at least some people, they are able to go independent. They are able to figure this out. They are able to get out there and grind and hustle. But it still stings, and it's still awful to lose an institution like this that had these resources, that had this standing, that had this history, and that, beyond the history, employed so many journalists. And of course, that was part of the problem, that the leadership there couldn't figure it out. It just frustrates me that the leadership there won't be responsible. That the people bearing the brunt of this, like they always do, are the people who are just going out there every day and busting their ass.
It's tough. It's tough. It is. But I'm telling you, everybody who's listening, this is all recreatable. You'd be shocked at how recreatable all this is. Healthcare is a different story. You can figure out healthcare, but it's a little more annoying than it would be otherwise. But beyond that, you can still book travel. You can still go out and cover things. Your audience will reward you for doing it, and they will reward you directly. Like, look, I'll put it this way. This will be the end cap on this. There's a reason why Punch Bowl would be almost impossible to be bought by the Washington Post if Bezos wanted to buy them tomorrow, unless he gave them insane over market value thing. And even then they'd be a risk in 3 years when their contract was over to just go and leave and start it again and redo it from scratch, because it's so much more lucrative if you can do it yourself. It's so much more lucrative if you can do it yourself. And there are trade-offs. And boy, I've always said that big journalistic brands matter. And doesn't matter how frustrated I get with the Post, doesn't matter how frustrated I get with the New York Times, doesn't matter how frustrated I got with Time Magazine or anything like that. These things matter. They do matter. for a million different reasons that I've talked about a million different times, but it's not necessary. What's necessary is somebody doing the work, somebody willing to pay for it, and that exists more so now than it ever has.
Let me ask you this. You're giving them people great advice here. When you were going independent for the first time, what's a mistake you made that you're looking back now, like, I wish I could do that again so that these folks can avoid that?
Not understanding the value. Not understanding that people will pay good money, more money than you think you are worth for your work. The number one thing that exists in this world, and this is only going to get more as we enter into the AI future, and I'm as big of an AI optimist as you can possibly find, authenticity and connection matter. Yeah. If I'm going to get into like kind of a far future, I think we're at the precipice of a golden age for subscriptions, because we're going to find different ways to connect people with content, and the platforms that are going to matter are going to be less intrusive than the social media platforms that came before, that were always looking to get everything on their site. We're going to be in a place where everybody's going to be fine connecting you somewhere else, or your content's going to be so easily transferable in voice or video that getting connected to somebody in a frictionless way where you understand and trust that your credit card is available on the internet will be instantaneous in a level that we've never really been able to consider. So what I would say to you right now is don't undersell yourself. And this is just my personal preference. I'm sure that there's a bunch of people that are on text chains and they're on email chains right now. They're like, guys, what if 5 of us get together and we have a Don't. Everybody go their separate ways. Guest star on each other's stuff, do things together, collaborate. These are good.
Grow each other's audiences.
You didn't trust, if you're anything like me, guys, you didn't get into this business to do math, and you didn't get into this business to accidentally shortchange your friends. And you're going to wind up doing both if you want to be a small business that has to divide this pie 5 ways. And the pie is going to be great for one. It's a personal pan pizza. It might not be great for 5. For 5, it's barely an hors d'oeuvre.
I saw the light in your eyes go up when you got the personal pan pizza.
I'm just saying, when you have a personal pan pizza, you're like, this is great. This is the perfect amount of food. Okay. Kirk, thank you so much for joining us. I know you got to run. Thank you for giving us the vibes. Watch. I'm here, by the way, for the record, on the way out, I think this is the bankruptcy moment. I think that this is the moment where now we talk about things that are on the way up. Because once you gut the post, what else are you doing? What else? How else can you kick DC? He said foreshadowingly. Maybe you can kick it harder, worse. But I think this is the low point. I'm gonna hope this is the low point.
Look, I think the only thing people have a lot of hope for right now in DC is that a Commander Stadium coming in. If that falls through or becomes the Trump RFK Stadium, I think people are going to feel like they got kicked in the nuts again.
It's a good looking stadium, though. The renders look good. Kirk, where can people find you?
Justin, thanks for having me. I'm on Twitter, and because of all this news this week, I'm thinking about reviving the Substack I started doing like last year, just trying to get that a little bit more regular. So you can find me at Kirk Bado on Substack. And, hopefully I don't have to use it as a source of income anytime soon, but I want to dig my well before I'm thirsty.
There we go. All right. Kirk, thank you so much. Talk to you next time.
Thanks, brother.
And that'll wrap it up for us today. Politics brought to you by me. Written and hosted by Justin Robert Young for Dog and Pony Show Audio in Austin, Texas. You'd think I'd have that memorized by now, but I guess my brain is just fried at the end of the week. Aren't we all? You can email the show, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Find, follow, and share video clips. Justin R. Young on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. YouTube is Politics. And of course, on Substack, get the Substack TV app, sync your subscription there, and get me big, bright, beautiful, high definition. right down the barrel of the gun. Of course, you can support us. PayPal is paypal.me/payjury, PAYJURY. Venmo is Justin-Young-20. Cash App is PX3Cash, and you can hit me up with anything you'd like in the mail. Post Office Box 153184, Austin, Texas 78715. Now, the only place you get our bonus content is TakePoliticsSeriously.com. Paying members get 2 bonus episodes each and every week, either $3. Actually, no, it's just $12. $12 a month. You know, and you get 2 bonus episodes each and every week. Guys, it's good stuff, especially now, because we got stuff to look at, including this, including crazy ads like this. This is Republican primary candidate Richard Jackson in Georgia running against Brad Raffensperger, who's also running for governor in Georgia. I don't know who greenlit this ad, but it is bonkers. Play it.
Mommy, why did you name me Brad?
Well, when you were first born, I thought to myself, how can my son spend his years doing almost nothing? I named you after Brad Raffensperger. He did side with Stacey Abrams against President Trump, though. Turned on his own kind. Now he wants to be governor. I can only hope you'll do so precious little with your life. My second name choice was Judas.
By the way, you want to know where that ad is running? Georgia markets, Washington, D.C. market, and West Palm Beach. Huh. I wonder who he's trying to get that in front of. I wonder, because nobody hates Brad Raffensperger like Donald Trump hates Brad Raffensperger. I wonder if he's trying to get somebody's endorsement. Anyway, you get good stuff like that when it comes out, not during these shows. $12 a month. I love you guys. Thank you. You're the reason why I'm able to keep doing this. And you know, while everybody else, you know, look, there's a lot of stuff that's happening right now. A lot of people are going into the world of independent content creation. I am not somebody who thinks that more competition equals there are less people. I want a market that's out there. I want a lot of people that are doing this, that can be on this show. Your sauce will mix with ours and we'll make a good goulash, baby. It is good to be in this field. And it's because people believe in what we do. And that, my friends, is either you listening or it could be TakePoliticsSeriously.com. But if you want your name read on the show, one place to do that, the foundational tier, you'll see that when you sign up, including these fine folks: Sonny Black, L3PO, Peepaw, Scott, Middle-Aged Mike, Tom, Nick, Sarah Jeannie, Jeremy, Pro Idiot, Chiller Tomatoes, Neil, Casey, oh yeah, it's Adam, AB Puppy, Dr. Whiskey, Fat Tony's PJs from New York, Will the Borge B, Michael, Matt, DB4 Bongo, Andrew, Edwin, Sam, Andrew, Phil, Edison, Paul, Gloria Young, my mom. A Dog Named Truckers, Jerry, Trucker, John, Berkeley, Steven, and Zombie Doc. You want your name read on the show, head there, give me the money. It's a lot up front, but if you love the show and you want your name read on it for a year, you're buying a year, well, it's a good thing to do. I think we're going to have Catherine D on next week. I got a lot of internet lore stuff I want to talk about. I got a lot of internet, where is our internet discourse right now? There's few people that kind of get the internet in the way that she does. I'm so excited to have her back on the program. I tried to get him for this week, but I guess he was off the internet for a while. Michael Tracy's got to get back on the show. We're trying to get him. We'll see if we can get the Sham Wow guy. It's all happening at the zoo, baby. It's all going on. Till then, have a great weekend. A reminder that some shows talk about politics, others talk about politics, and still more discuss politics. But this is the only show that dares discuss all three.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Dog and Pony Show audio.